Welcome to the War Room, a weekly roundtable discussion that takes place every Sunday at 5 p.m. Eastern Time. Tune in at 911warroom.com/Zoom.
Everybody, it's 4:59 on Sunday, April 10th, 9/11 War Room. Start off with new news. And I have GOP moved by ex-White House lawyer raises questions about dividing the Taliban assets among its 9/11 victims. Seems that Biden and people want to split the 3.5 billion, but this lawyer came out of nowhere and wants to give most of it to the victims' family members. And the long and short of it, they're fighting over who's going to get the money. I just find it humorous, not humorous, kind of odd. This is the Afghans' money, and here we are. We had no business being in Afghanistan, and we're fighting over who gets their money.
Probably shut up the victims forever if they get that money.
Yeah. Where is it? To seize the 7 billion. You know, all this fight over this money, and talking to Mick Harrison, it would cost, with Danny Sheehan, they said to assemble a team to actually go after the United States government for complicity with the controlled demolition of the towers. It would cost about $10 million to have a team to do that. Here we're talking about a fight over $7 billion, and all these people are seeking money, but no one's seeking justice. And it's just craziness.
Furthermore, it's ill-begotten money.
Exactly. Yep.
I mean, that's my big objection, is you're making more suffering for the everyday Afghan.
Mm-hmm. On that note, I'm going to skip to this story. Wait, not that one. This one. I'm going to call her Mrs. Rupa B. I don't even want to try her last name. Anyways, this.
Bhattacharya.
Well, thank you.
It's such a common Indian name, Bhattacharya.
Of course. Bhattacharya steps down as special master of the 9/11 Victims Compensation Fund. She's been at it for ever since Congress started giving this money out. She stepped down. The most interesting part of this story, where is it? Something about in her tenure, she doled out at nearly $8 billion to people harmed by terror attacks, processing some 40,000 claims. Again, I just want to make that statement again. $8 billion was given out, but not 10 million for a true justice for 9/11 investigation. Just shocking as all get out.
It's
And
like
you're
a
right, Hal.
protection fund. It's a protection racket.
Yeah. And when, like Al said, it's just going to shut these people up, and they're not going to speak out because they're going to get money.
Mm-hmm.
Steve Buscemi, he says it's still with me. Actor on his PTS after volunteering on 9/11. He volunteered for 5 days after the attacks. This just came out today, like 4 hours ago. He's 64. He was a firefighter in the 80s in Manhattan's Little Italy, which is interesting. When Cat Waters and I visited the firehouses that I think past 9/11 or the 9/11, no, the 9/11 before 2020. There was a gentleman that came out and he didn't want to talk on camera, but he said he walked up to, maybe you guys may have heard this before, but he walked up to 7 with his unit, and they were going to go into the building, and their chief said, "You're not going into there." And he turned, he said, "Get out of here." And they started walking. And if he's from Little Italy, he's this is Firehouse 10. This might be the same firehouse that Steve Buscemi's from. But as they walked away, he said 60 seconds later, that building came down right behind us. And I wasn't in a frame of mind. If I go back to New York, visit Firehouse 10, Ladder 10 in Little Italy, and ask this gentleman if I could find him. Did he hear explosions in that 60 seconds, before that tower fell, before World Trade Center 7 tower fell behind him? He would have had to have heard something, the rumble. He didn't ask him, what did you see when you turned and watched this building coming down? Were you just running, or did you just? So I think that'd be great eyewitness testimony. But anyway, getting away from the true story here. So Steve Buscemi still battling his PTSD. I can't imagine the things they saw down there, and yeah. I don't even want to really mention this because it's just government. I don't know. DC's National Theater stages Broadway's acclaimed 9/11 musical, Come From Away. So somebody made a musical on 9/11.
Yeah.
That's about all I want to talk about that. Richard Gage this past week had Holland Neuenhoff, the producer of A Noble Lie about the Oklahoma City bombings. That was eye-opening. I watched this whole one and packed with information. And really interesting. I didn't know there were 2 craters, or basically the truck McVeigh couldn't get the truck down under Oklahoma City, the building, because the truck was too big. So he basically was backed up to it. So there were 2 craters. The stuff that happened inside that was the inside job, and McVeigh, who didn't get close enough, so they couldn't cover it up like they were supposed to cover it up. It's just another blunder. They're just ridiculous. But they covered it up good enough to get away with it. And oddly enough, 4 days later, Hillary may have been indicted for her Whitewater stuff, and a lot of those files were in that building. And yeah, just our government. That's all I have for new news. Anybody else? New news this past? Oh yes, Alfred, if you would like to speak on the news you got back from AE about the firefighters, National Fire Protection.
Yeah, so I had put out I sent out emails of the conversations we were having with A&E, Ted Walters and Scott Granger, asking them if they would participate in the upcoming convention. And it took them about a week and a half to get back to me, but I finally heard from Scott and Ted. The takeaway is they're not interested. So, I mean, I was really hoping that, that because of their expertise in engineering, that would be a great fit for that convention.
Especially Scott.
I'm sorry?
Especially Scott Granger's background. He's directly involved with National Fire Protection Association.
Exactly. And that's really what I wanted to, try to get him to come. I don't know how many people follow what they're up to, but their big push right now is this
Andy's book,
Project Due Diligence. They're going after the engineering community. And he explained to me that, that was where they were having the most success, that, with engineers, believe it or not, once they see the evidence, then it's black and white, that they can't walk away from the whole mechanical aspects of the buildings and what happened. So anyway, I mean, I understand why they don't want to spend the money. He felt it was more to do with, fire prevention equipment, and you wouldn't get a lot of engineers at the convention. I don't know if that's true or not, but anyway. Yeah, it is. I mean, it's a big deal. Yeah. So, I couldn't talk into anything, but
you're still going to have a good presence. Richard said he's probably going to go. Eric Lawyer's probably going to go.
Right. I talked to Richard. We talked about it. That, it sort of gins up the cost to it, because in order to get Richard and Gail and Eric, we're talking a lot of expense just to have them come. And then, of course, we got the 4,000 for the booth. And then, the big, obviously, money is always an issue here. And Sandra gave me the, which I had just managed to lose the
issue with us all, man.
I'm sorry?
Hi, aloha.
Hey, Gail.
Aloha.
I'm sorry, what were you saying?
Who, me?
Al? Yeah, sorry.
Yeah. So it's called YISI, I guess is the name of the fund. I sent it out to a couple of people to get, help me with it, trying to get money. And I guess you use that down in New York with the polling. And I gather it was successful. I mean, that you got the polls. I don't know how much you came up with at the time. Wasn't it like $6 grand or something? Or I don't know what that.
6 or 7, yeah.
6 or 7, yeah. So, I mean, it's sort of a short timeline trying to get this organized. But, you know, one day at a time, that's kind of where I'm at right now. So anyway, that's the next step here, you know, I mean, because both Richard and Eric are gung ho about coming.
Yep.
Which is good news. I mean, they're willing to come. But you know, they have to get paid. So,
Yeah.
they're not coming for free.
Did you get a sense that may have been the hangup also, that AE didn't want to be where Richard was going to be?
No, not at all. Because when I first contacted Scott and Ted, I didn't mention Richard at all. And so it wasn't a consideration for them. You know, they just didn't feel they were going to get enough bang for the buck out of that.
That's crazy.
The what?
That's crazy.
Yeah, I know.
That's-
I kind of
that's-
was really disappointed to hear it, you know, that they didn't think it
I mean,
was worthy enough.
It's an illogical statement to say they
Right.
wouldn't get enough bang for their buck. It's not like the National Fire, it's the National Fire Protection Agency, their annual meeting, like,
Yep, exactly.
that's
So-
crazy. This
so
is more of
anyway.
their brilliant marketing campaign and director of operations. Anyways, I'm not gonna go there, I guess.
Yeah. So anyway, yeah, that's what I've been up to. The other thing I should I keep going, or I don't know what you want to.
You're gonna go to the updated mutual aid request, or?
Yes, no, thank you for that. That was great. I don't know if everybody got a copy of it, but Chris Joya put out an updated mutual aid request, which will be the focus in my mind at the convention. The worst case scenario is we're going to hand these things out. If we don't get the booth and we don't get Richard out here, you know, we're still going to go down there and try to get these guys to sign the petition, which, you know, to me would be, you know, totally appropriate for this convention.
If anybody wants to get this, you just have to go to 911firefighters.org. I made a conglomeration site, which will direct you to Firefighters for 9/11 Truth and Christopher Joya's Justice for 9/11 Heroes. And at Justice for 9/11 Heroes, if you scroll down the page, there's the original mutual aid request. And now that he's no longer fire commissioner with Munson Square, Franklin Square and Munson Fire District, he put out a new one under his own name, fresh off the press, like a few days ago.
So
yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead. I mean, I had sent that out, excuse me, to our group, hoping that, you know, our email list would get it. And I don't know if you've done the same, Gene, whether you were able to send that out to your list.
Not yet. I
Not
will.
yet. Okay.
Good action item. Thank you, Al.
Because the more people that see that, obviously, I mean, that's, you know, it's still an ongoing action. I mean, the fact that we had sent out 430 of those things back a year and a half ago, but to the fire chiefs, so.
Well, the thing is, nothing stops any of us from printing out multiple copies of it and just sending it to our own firehouses in our cities.
Exactly, yeah, exactly, yeah.
You know, I think this is what I'm gonna focus on. We should make that the action item for the
Can I
month.
ask all of you, all 7 of you right here, look up like the local firehouses in your area and mail at most 10.
Yeah, and Jean, maybe you could put it up in the war room also under whatever flyers or letters or, yeah, letters. You have a letters folder, I think.
All right, I'm gonna do it. I'll show you. You guys don't have to do it. I don't want to seem like I'm trying to pull you or, anything like that. If you would, I really am asking, like, this is where we need people to be. And here's
I think-
7 of us.
I think
I
we
need
can
to read it
promote
first.
this. I absolutely think we should promote this in the War Room on the 9/11 Truth Movement page. Ask people to get behind this. And, I still think snail mail, there's something to be said about snail mail. A lot of people don't get hard copy stuff
You're
in
right.
their mailboxes anymore. They get emails, they scan them, they dump them as soon as they see a title that doesn't appeal to them. We all get bombarded with spam, but if you get a hard copy in your hands, that's worth a lot. And I don't know if there's something else that we could even add to that. If firefighters don't really have a brochure of any sort, I don't think.
Well, the lawyers committee is the focus of the mutual aid request. So they have a sheet that they printed out, I believe, don't they? Yeah, you're gonna bring it up here, hold on.
Let me see. Well, I wanted to see what he does reference on the mutual aid request.
I think
And see
it-
what the lawyers committee has. I mean, because if we're going to send it to firehouses, we should really focus on the firefighters. I mean, this mutual aid request does address the legal aspect, but if there's anything that we can include that directly focuses on the firefighters, that would be really good.
He takes them to the lawyers committee. Yeah, it
You
keeps
know
it.
what? I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
You know that there's a, I don't know where it originated. I don't know who made the original, that meme of like 118
Yeah.
witnesses.
Yep.
Like, if there's any way that could be included where people could have that printed out, in a really nice in color format or whatever, I think
Right.
that would be really eye-catching to include.
Rats, they scrub this internet. I would normally bring that up. Let me try something else real quick. Control V, enter.
Right now, you're share screening a Dan Ellsberg biography.
I am.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's all we got.
Yeah.
Whoops. Well, let's go over here then. I was trying to find that. I know exactly which one you're talking about, but they seem to have scrubbed the internet from it anyway. But something to add with it to a little oomph or a little graphical flair. I don't know. It would be nice to direct them to the 9/11 firefighter site. I think would be, because Paul Simon put together. If you guys haven't seen Calling Out Bravo 7, it's a little slow at the beginning, but I have never seen a movie do World Trade Center 7 better. It is the best 9/11 documentary written by firefighters for firefighters. Paul Simon, if you guys don't know, he's a firefighter from the United Kingdom, and just, man, this was a great video.
Mhm,
So we should direct it. Maybe just direct them to here.
mhm.
Yeah, you're here.
That's easy enough, because each letter, just write it in pen on the bottom corner, 911firefighters.org. There. Anyway. Anyone else? Anything on
Well,
this?
Before we get off of the Boston Convention, and Al brought up the enormous expense, which is a stumbling block.
Mhm.
I just wanted to do a little pitch for donations to Boston 9/11 Truth, because our donation page is indeed working. If you don't mind sharing that for a second.
Not
Gee.
at all. See how quick I can do this. It's 5:19. Share my screen again. Come on, cursor. Screen 2. Shazam.
There's our PayPal. Newly
Oh,
Nice.
I donated today, it worked.
yeah. So you got a choice of 20, 50, 100 or other. And you can add a little bit to cover the PayPal costs. and it returns you to the page after you're done.
Oh, uh,
We prefer 1,000 rather than 25.
I'll have to
Every
figure out
little
what
bit helps, though,
Yeah,
and try
especially
one.
if you want to be a sustaining donor.
right.
Collapse itself.
Oh,
Now we go to videotape the collapse.
that's my alarm.
Oh,
Okay.
You gotta hear it coming. Come on.
It's amazing. Amazing, incredible, pick your word. For the third time today, it's reminiscent of those pictures we've all seen too much on television before, when a building was deliberately destroyed by well-placed dynamite to knock it down.
All
I
right.
show you
Lord, we just come before you. We thank you for this opportunity that we can all come together, and we have this technology about us to communicate, and just ask you to continue to bless this search for 9/11 justice. Everyone, whatever venue or whatever capacity that they're doing it, Lord, that you would continue to watch out for them, guard them, protect them. Everyone in this call, the lawyers committee, Mick Harrison, Richard and Gail, anyone in whatever method that they're doing for 9/11 justice, Lord, that you would bless it if it's true and right. And Lord, that you would just help to keep us from saying things that aren't to be shared. Thank you for these opportunities. In your name I pray. Amen.
amen.
Thank you. I'll get back on this because, oh, unusual activity on my account at PayPal. Go figure. I'm not gonna do it with you. I'm not
What'd
gonna
you
do
give
it.
to last time that they didn't like?
That's weird. I don't know. But yeah, I'll be donating to you guys.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Yeah, this is an amazing group. It's not as large as what LA. Did you guys ever get big like LA did?
We had
No,
over.
No, I
We
don't think
oh
so.
yeah. I thought you told me for a second.
I'm sorry, Kale, I didn't see you were had your hand up.
Yeah. With the 118 testimonies that were left out, is there anywhere on record of those testimonies that we could
Heck
maybe
yeah.
view?
Yeah, watch this. This one I
Sweet.
know works.
Yeah.
Share, go back to screen 2. If you guys look up on my account, geez, I mean, close all this. Search my profile and type 118. I got it all in one post. Any one of them is the talk, because I start quoting some of the firefighters that said there was just an explosion. Down here I have all these links, and
Oh, no.
explosive testimony, revelations about the Twin Towers and the 9/11 oral histories by David Griffin, and then the actual Graham McQueen. This is where he said, he actually laughs in an interview talking about architects and engineers. Somebody at AE 9/11 Truth wanted him to run with the 118 number because it's actually 156 first responders. But in the interview with AE, Graham McQueen says, I don't know why they were so dead set on this 118 just because it was just the firefighters, but in all actuality there were 156 people, but they didn't want to hear it. They wanted to talk about just 118. So, but probably because it's firefighters, you can sell it a little bit, you know, more emotionally if it's just the firefighters, I guess.
Right. That's awesome, Gene. Thank you.
Yeah, let's see if it brings it up. Yeah, it's all in here. Where's the test? Oh wait, let me go back. This is where the actual testimonies are. New York Times oral histories from September 11th compiled from the New York Fire Department. I actually want to say something else about this because this is really good. So here they all are, alphabetized by last name. You can click on any of these names and go in and get the PDF and read down through their transcribed oral testimony. It's all searchable.
This is on your,
If you just type any of my Facebook, search my profile and type 118, I have about 20 of this post because I spammed it everywhere. It all starts
was-
out 118 firefighters gave
What
oral
was
test-
that link you just?
So
clicked
the
on?
link I just clicked on was to the New York Times, and it's the last one in every one of these posts.
Last, okay.
What's so great about this story? I just got to read this because this is a tremendous story, and this is the Cliff Notes version of it. Why have we not known about these? Wait, let me go back. There's two instances where they heard about explosions. The above quotations come from a collection of 12,000 pages of 9/11 oral histories that, although recorded by the Fire Department of New York at the end of 2001, were publicly released only on August 12, 2005, 4 years later. Prior to that date, very few Americans knew the content of those accounts or even the fact they existed. Why have we not known about them until recently or back in 2005? Part of the answer is that the city of New York would not release them until it was forced to do so. Early in 2002, the New York Times requested copies under the Freedom of Information Act, which I find interesting because the New York Times is dirty as all get out, but it seems they had the best interests here. FOIA request but Mayor Michael Bloomberg's administration refused. So the Times, joined by several families of 9/11 victims, filed suit. After a long process, the city was finally ordered by the New York Court of Appeals to release the records with some exceptions and redactions allowed. Included were the oral histories of interview form provided by 503 firefighters. Well, that's weird. I think that needed to say first responders and medical workers, EMS, become a division within the fire department. Times made these oral histories publicly available. That's just a kick in the balls. Michael Bloomberg's office tried to block the request of these oral testimonies.
Can we print this out, Gene, on your site? I'd love
Sure.
to have a flyer with all that for the convention.
Yeah, I wonder if I can edit post, do a Control A, Control C, go to the chat, and paste. Oh, come on. No, it don't stop me. Oh, you're not allowed to post that much. All right, I'll get it to you guys
Beautiful.
right here because I'll forget. We just did this.
You could just tag everyone.
Yeah, let me look. We got Kale, we got Al, Sandra, that's Susan, Ed. I love this. And Ray. I got Ray. Ray's in here. Come on. I know Ray's in there. I thought he was. No, I guess I don't. I don't got you, Ray. So you're not on 9/11 public, brother. Got to get on there. Anyways, this was 118. I'll just put 118. Control V. It's all there. It's not formatted. Damn it. Why didn't it format it? That looks horrible. Go back here. Copy. A Windows key V. No, it won't do it. I'm gonna send you a junk copy, then I'll send you a pretty version later. I don't want to waste time with that.
You include Lorenzo
Whoops.
because he's here too.
Hi.
Deb Lee. Missed a couple meetings. I hope I didn't know off the. No, Deb, come on in.
Oh, it's already gone. Well, I'll forward it to you.
There you go.
Okay.
Let me just. Deb Lee emailed and said she's missed a couple. Hope she's not off the email list. Of course she's not. I don't think we sent an email though. But come on in. I emailed her. Kale, you had another question? Oh, you're muted. Now you're gone.
Sorry,
Oh,
not.
okay.
But let me add this. My kids love Ray.
Loved Ray.
They love Ray. Yeah. They're big.
Explosions. I'm telling you, explosions. We
Yeah,
did
Ray,
not
we
test for the pressure. Sorry, Ray. I do a really
Yeah, they
bad
love-
Belgian accent.
They're like, we can make shirts.
Now, we missed Ray last week. There was like no talk of explosions.
Yeah, really.
There he is.
And which, oh, by the way, can you share Kale's video that he posted in the war room of I can't, lithoplane, is that what it's called?
Oh yeah, they're called lithophanes.
Yeah, that and the little sevens that he made, it's like a 1-minute video or something. It's incredible.
Did we do that? Where did we see that? That was last week, didn't we?
No,
Okay.
he reposted something a couple of days ago.
Oh, we didn't show that public? Let's do it.
Page.
We're gonna play it right now. Hang on 1 second. It's a cool little clip.
It's the one from a couple of days ago, yeah?
These tracks are side by side, sand.
Oh yeah, this is it.
Yeah, that one, yeah.
I never heard of them hitting anything this big before.
I gotta say, you put together a little video good too, brother. This is like
Thanks. That's
legit
just
Yeah.
looking.
They didn't, but we are meant to think they did. These tracks are side by side. Sand people always ride single file to hide their numbers.
These are the same Jawas that sold us R2 and 3PO.
And these blast points, too accurate for sand people. Only Imperial stormtroopers are so precise.
But why would Imperial troops want to slaughter Jawas? If they traced the robots here, they may have learned who they sold them to, and that would lead them back home.
Oh, wait, Luke! It's too dangerous!
Do not wish this life to pass away, but life presents such possibilities each and every day. I heard a calling that was right for me. I prayed for strength for what's ahead of me. Show me the
Very cool.
I never.
Very cool.
Yeah.
so now I know you don't know what to do with them. Put them in your bathroom, but you know, have fun with it.
Heck yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna change it place every day.
I have to share something else real quick if I can. Let me.
We made a few for like pets or
Um,
my nephew and stuff like that. But we're like, hey, what if we incorporated some kind of truth? I don't know.
Anyways, it's very impressive, and
dang it.
I wish that everybody had a creative impulse like that to, just do whatever it is that they can. I mean, you have that ability to do 3D printing, which is amazing. Not everyone has it, but other people have other tools, and to each his own, right?
I wanted to show.
It inspired a few ideas that we're gonna now try and work on. I'm not gonna give them away because I know our friends are listening. They might copyright it. I don't want a China version.
Great. I wanted to show a picture. I don't know if anybody's ever seen the emblem that's on the side of World Trade Center 7. And I just shared it with somebody under the different account, and I can't find where I sent it to. But it looks similar to that logo of what you created with the circle. Let me see.
Oh, you know what my idea was with that for you is your mic. Like in newscasts or when they're holding the mic up to someone, they got that big symbol with the panel number on it. I don't know, that's what popped in my head.
Anyways, I can't waste. Oh, there it is. Hang on. Let me share this with you guys. Spending too much time on this. It's gonna come through super pixelated. It's right on the side of the building. It's, you kind of see it there. They have another bigger one. You can't really see it very well there, but it's a 7 inside of a circle. That was this the sign for building 7.
Oh, wow.
It looks really similar to what you had there.
Dude, wait, that's crazy.
Very similar, because my smoke symbol and my logo actually is on that side. So If I was a graffiti artist, I would have ran up
Yeah.
there and put a smoke symbol on it, but then I wouldn't have because the building still be standing.
Hey,
Yeah.
that's you.
All right, what else we got? Anybody
Now,
have any?
Look, check this out really quick. I flipped my camera. We
Yeah,
have a little thing going on over here. We added your 7 onto the fire truck.
ah,
See that?
yeah,
Jenga.
Jenga. That's a great tool to be able to pull people in if you're
And the
ever
fraud.
doing activism on the street. Just throw up a
The
table and put a
election
Jenga on
fraud,
top.
election fraud, and then this is the paper from that day of Pearl Harbor.
That's worth some money. You should have that wrapped up a little better.
And then we have a 9/11 puzzle that we're gonna do with the kids and their flags. There, now you're in our shrine, man.
Thanks. Now, what do you have, brother?
Well, I had sent out an email. I don't know how many people got it, but I was hoping to bring it up at the meeting here. And I gather everybody would know Captain Dan Hanley, but he's done some great work just recently and over the past. And he sent out to the ISI in Pakistan. He lives over there. And he's trying to get them to do a joint inquest into his whole transponder, how there were no Muslim pilots. I mean, that's his main point that he gets across, that were capable of flying those planes. And he sent out all of these letters, which are very interesting, both to Biden, Pakistani Prime Minister Imran Khan, U.S. Director of the National Intelligence Avril Haines, Pakistani ISI Director General General Nadeem Ajam, advising them of he visited their headquarters. And he's doing a lot in the Muslim community. He became a Muslim, even though he grew up here and he was in the military, and he's married to a woman over there who's a newscaster. But
Hashmi, yeah.
but anyway, if you read through what he put out to these people, it's great stuff. I mean, he really isn't. He's doing a lot, and you know, whether he'll get anywhere with it or not. But obviously, he's got an audience over there. I don't know about the ISI. I always thought they were part of it. You know, all of the intelligence headquarters that were the Mossad, ISI, the British intelligence, CIA, I would have lumped into one group that were participating in 9/11. But anyway,
But he's got to be careful, because if they're asking him about what he knows, he might be want to know what he knows. Because
yeah, well, exactly. Well, he sent out a letter of what he knows, and he
Right.
went to their offices and he
Yeah.
tried to get.
He went to the ISI headquarters. That's freaking hilarious.
Yeah, no, it is. It's
Yeah,
amazing.
because they were implicated years ago, early on, with
Yeah.
part of the funding.
That's right. Yeah,
So
I
it's
think
like-
who was it?
Mm.
Who was the guy? Wasn't it
General General. Shoot,
well,
Adam know.
the head?
It's
the
he
head-
knows your name. He knows all the
Adam-
Middle Eastern names.
That's funny.
I'll move
Yeah, Adam would know for sure.
it.
He's like Rain
shoot.
Man, throw down the pixie sticks, and he'd count them all up.
I know, right? Hold on, let me look it up.
Who was the head leader of the?
So in all these communications, he did have a meeting with them at their ISI headquarters, but he didn't hear anything back from the U.S. government. And then he let the U.S. government, hey, I went and met with them at the ISI headquarters, and the American government still didn't respond to him.
Right.
So
Right.
our government just
But
definitely complicit in the cover up.
he's good friends with Khan, who is he's kind of a rebel himself, and you know, it'd be interesting if he ever gets anywhere with him, because they're trying to just recently, according to him, they were trying to get rid of Khan by having a new election in Pakistan. He's probably the best prime minister they ever had over there. And unfortunate that the US and its color revolution are trying to pull the same crap on him that they do everywhere else.
Mhm.
So anyway, but it's worth reading over that letter that he sent out.
Yep, thank you. Anyone else new news that they're aware of in 9/11 world in the last week? Let me think. Andy Steele's pumping his comic book, which I broke down, and I don't care for Andy Steele, but it was on sale, so I bought it.
Good heavens.
I'm not a comic book reader, but it's for people that like comic books, it looks like it would be good. Oh, your voice is doing that thing.
Are you serious?
Yeah, you plugged in.
No, I just plugged myself out.
Still doing it. Huh. Earbuds. 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 Ray, what do you have?
Can you sum up the comic book?
Oh, well, I haven't read it, but it's the story, the fictional story of a firefighter that was born on 9/11, and I don't know much more than that. It's an enthralling graphic novel, according to Kamal Abed. So,
How much did it cost?
on sale, it was like, I think $18 or $20. It's $25 regularly.
Oh,
Yeah, I know. It's a thick book, though. I mean,
yeah, it looks it, yeah.
and
Is it for kids or what is it?
I think it's an adult cookbook, an adult comic book.
Comic book, yeah.
It's in that style. I mean, it's some of it's really compelling. But I'm not in, I collect. I got it mostly for collectors reasons. I have the Jersey Girls I just got on the front of Ms. Magazine. That was like, I think it was $30 for that magazine. Trying to collect an original 9/11 gold card that they made in a memorial, plated. Anyway, start collecting that one. Yeah, Sandra. Yeah, I got her one too, I think, didn't I? Yep. Someday I'm gonna meet them and get that signature. That'd be cool. They're heroes of mine, that's for sure.
Mahmoud Ahmed.
Lori Van Auken, Patty Casaza, Mindy Kleinberg, and Kristen Breitweiser. And what was the name of the
General Mahmoud Ahmed?
Nice job.
Now, what was he?
He was the head of Pakistani ISI, from what I understand. He was like a general of some sort.
Wasn't
Go ahead.
weren't they supporting Mohammed Atta, or somebody was sending him
There was
money?
$100,000 sent to Mohammed Atta
Yeah,
through Pakistani intelligence.
that's right. Yeah, good luck with that.
So we all agree it was a somewhat of a coordinated effort between Mossad, CIA, MI5, MI6, ISI. Anybody else in the Saudi royals?
Yeah, I mean, those are the big players,
Well,
right?
Well, it's I think it's an oversimplification, but
Yeah, right.
I don't know
definitely.
about yeah, I don't know. It's like I don't know. I mean, there's a lot to unpack there. I mean, it's like
There's
what
not
would be
hard
play?
evidence. I'm just saying we all get the general feel that all those intelligence agencies had some foreknowledge or some play in it.
Well, they were definitely monitoring the terrorists, so that was the biggest. That's in my view the biggest takeaway. Then, but you have all that monitoring going on. How did it happen?
Mhm.
So it's like, well, and then that's where you get all the screw ups and people not communicating and things like that. And and now what's interesting about Mossad's involvement is that when you're trying to infiltrate a terrorist network and collect intelligence, it's very difficult for United States intelligence agencies to do that because it's hard to find people that look Middle Eastern within our intelligence agencies. So that's where organizations like the Mossad come into play, and utilizing those intelligence agencies. However, because Israel is already a target for terrorism with respect to Palestine, things like that, they're already kind of ahead of the game when it comes to monitoring all these different people and networks. So they have their own people embedded within these terrorist networks because they can blend in a lot easier.
Mhm.
So it's very, very likely, and I we proved it, but very likely that the U.S. intelligence agencies know this, and then they rely on that information, and then they start monitoring that. You know what I mean? So they, instead of them they basically use the information from Israeli Mossad, and they monitor that agency, and they monitor the hijackers, et cetera, to the greatest degree they can, while relying on the intelligence services from Israel, based on their data collection from their embedded intelligence assets. So that's more than likely what was going on. That's why the question about whether or not Jihad Jarrah was on Flight 93 is very important, because his cousin and other relatives were members of Israeli Mossad. They were implicated in certain bombings, et cetera. So they were actually working for Israel. So then Jihad Jarrah, whenever he was around the terrorists, the terrorist cells that he was hanging out with, like when they stayed in hotels, for example, Jihad Jarrah he would always make sure he had his own room. And that would make sense for an intelligence asset, because it limits his exposure from being accidentally slipping up. Because if he's surrounding himself like in the same room and with the terrorists, then there's a bigger chance of him exposing himself, and by being able to get his own room, for example, which what he did routinely, then it like prevents it keeps the odds down from him being made as an intelligence asset.
This seems to be an MO of all intelligence agencies. Like, I don't know how much you guys are following the January 6th stuff. Ray Epps' story as being an informant for the FBI. Like they set somebody up to get involved and be a part of it. Somebody that's compromised, or somebody that becomes an asset, and let it play out so that they can, I guess that's Hegelian dialectic, problem, reaction, solution.
Right. So that's but that explains a lot why there's questions whether Jihad Jarrah was actually on Flight 93, and why he was probably an intelligence asset and never made it on the plane. That's why there's witnesses on the plane who said there was 3 hijackers, and not in the name that was called out over the system, over the cockpit, the air traffic control recording information.
Which flight was that?
That's Flight 93. That's why all the witnesses on the plane never, or the sound of the name was not the same as Jihad Jarrah, but the other terrorists. So there's a lot of interesting information there that we got to pick apart and look at in a very serious way. But that's probably that's in my view, kind of like how they were playing, how the intelligence agencies were working, so it's, I don't know. Like I said, this is an area that we need to be studying very deeply.
Well, my understanding is Mossad has always been an agent for the CIA. They were funding the Contras. They all of these color revolutions. They've been supplying weapons to the Ukrainian nationals. And they've been very, I mean, they're like, they do all the dirty work for the CIA as far as I've been.
Well, but the CIA, but the thing about the Mossad actually was doing a lot of counterintelligence within our own country.
Well, that's
things like
true,
the common
yeah.
software and things like that. So they're not your bastions of
No,
freedom and
not
liberty.
at
That's
all,
damn sure. So yeah, if they're creations of the U.S. The CIA, then they're definitely not. They're not heavily controlled by them, because for them to let them get away with that sort of thing. Plus, one of the producers here in Hollywood, big time producer, he did a Fight Club and films like that. He came out being a Mossad agent.
Right.
He was the one sneaking all kinds of nuclear material and stuff over to Israel back in the day.
Yep.
So
Pollard and all of those guys.
yeah.
We go to Ray and then Kale.
Okay, hello.
Hello.
Good evening, good day, and very much truth. I think that's the most important thing, and listening to one another. I was looking at the basis of the collapse and Mr. Sunder's quote. He said, if the fireproofing was still intact, the buildings, and then he means the towers, will still be standing today. So the fireproofing, the dislodging of fireproofing for him is the major one point. And I think in the total NIST report, it's the major one point that they focus on in the sense that because that was dislodged, the steel was attacked by the heat and it sagged, etc. But Kevin Ryan, he did an interview with somebody else, but it's a very interesting interview because he's one of the only persons focusing on the fireproofing in the truth movement that I could find of. There are not a lot of people who have focused on that aspect of the destruction of the towers. And Kevin Ryan did an interview. I posted a link. It's in the chat. Then you can find the interview he did. He did it with, let me see. It was on some 2005 somewhere, a transcript from Kevin Ryan on why NTC 9/11 WTC report are false and unscientific. And it was done in Global Research, Julian Charles, but it's you can read it for yourself, and I think it's very interesting to read in the sense that he was talking about a lack of energy, which in his mind was necessary to dislodge the whole fireproofing. So I think in their terms, if we focus on the Achilles heel from the NIST report, which is the dislodging from fireproofing, they do not prove it in their own report. And I made a screenshot. Yeah, that's the one. That's the link.
Mm-hmm.
But it's very interesting. He also was involved with a lot of research in his career, and that was a screenshot I made. But more important, it turns out that the energy required for this was simply not present, and he did a study of the energy necessary to dislodge the fireproofing, and Kevin Ryan says they do not prove it. They cannot provide the energy level in their report that shows why the fireproofing was dislodged in such an amount.
How much energy would be needed?
Ask Kevin Ryan. I read, I study, I'm not first of all, I'm not an expert in anything. But I read things and if Sharm Sunder, which I find the most, it's the centerpiece of what we are fighting. If he says that the towers will still be standing if the fireproofing was not dislodged, and then I can ask you, Ed, did you ever read the NIST report on the dislodging of fireproofing and why it was dislodged in their mind? Because I think, you don't have to, I don't have to prove anything. NIST has to prove their point, and Kevin Ryan says they do not prove their point. And that's all I'm saying.
So Kevin Ryan actually proved that fireproofing doesn't even matter at all, because in the NIST did get Underwriters Laboratories to conduct this test where they put the joists in basically a big kiln, and they let the
Yes.
fires burn for a couple hours, and
But there was not the dislodging of the fireproofing. It was the test
That's what I'm saying.
of the fireproofing in the capacity of if it was resistant to long-lasting fires.
All right,
But
let me
the
finish my point.
dislodging.
Let me
it would-
finish my point. I didn't get to finish
Okay.
my sentence. So what this test found is that without any fireproofing, none whatsoever, the trusses only sagged 4 inches, which was not what they put in their report. Their report, they said they sagged 42 inches, which is just unheard of. They didn't even sag 4 inches in this test with absolutely no fireproofing. So it doesn't matter what anybody says about fireproofing being dislodged or not, because it's a moot point at this point.
I think Kevin Ryan in his interview really points out that that's a very big thing, this dislodging of fireproofing. And if you read his the interview what he did, and you also feel that is really an important aspect of fighting the NIST report, and there's no real knowledge from.
What I'm saying is we don't even have to use fireproofing, right? Kevin Ryan just proved it right here that without any fireproofing, that they didn't even.
I know what you're trying to say, Gene, but it's not. It's what's important is that Kevin Ryan says that
that's him. That's Kevin Ryan's quote, right?
that it is in his interview that it is important, and that we're not going to. It's like saying this is not important to look at. I think every aspect of 9/11 has its importance to look at. And
Ray, you're not hearing me. You're not hearing me.
I'm listening.
There's no fireproofing here, and it's not deflecting. It's not melting. It's not going to collapse. So we don't need to talk about fireproofing.
But if Sharm Sunder says that that's the most important part.
Well, then we send him this video where Kevin Ryan shows that it's not.
But then you say it's not important. It's like saying that the conclusion of the NIST report is not important. It's the most important part. We have to fight the NIST report, not make up our own imagination.
How do I make this any simpler?
No. In other words, NIST is making a false claim. And
They
it's our responsibility. It's our responsibility to point out that false claim.
It's to disprove the NIST report is the most important.
Which then forces them to have to go back to the drawing board and give us the correct claims.
Yes.
Right.
That's okay. That's why it's important.
It's very important. If Sharm Sunder is the major man of NIST, and he claims that the dislodging of the fireproofing was the biggest thing that compromised the building. The dislodging of fireproofing. Did NIST prove the dislodging of fireproofing in a scientific way? Did they do it? They have we as a truth movement
It's a moot point. Why can't you hear me?
It's not moot. It's not mute.
I don't think it's moot. I don't think it's moot, Gene. I think he's got a point. Because what he's saying is NIST report is saying that, hey, this is why the building came down.
Yeah.
Right.
So and it's a false claim.
Yeah.
Based on
the video that I just showed you, that NIST asked Underwriters Laboratory to put these
Right.
joists. They didn't have any fireproofing. So right there, they
Right.
just basically, they have their own evidence to prove that that claim is false.
Right, and that's
So it's-
that's
It's,
what
the
that's
way
the point.
what you're showing, Gene, is a test. But before they did a lot of tests. They took a shotgun and shot
No,
off.
no, it's
fireproof-
different.
No,
You're not
it's-
hearing me.
it's- there- there's a lot of-
I really gonna pound this down. Give me 30 more seconds.
Yeah,
So with the shotgun, we're still talking about removing fireproofing.
yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Right.
That's
But
it.
in that underwriter's laboratory test that was just shown, I had in that video, they put flames for 2 hours on bare metal. So now we
Yeah.
don't even have to look at, like, not that we don't have to look at it. I'm not articulating myself well. If somebody can help me here. Fireproofing plays no role in the towers coming down at this point by NIST's own test that they requested of Underwriter's Laboratory, because there was no fireproofing used.
Right, so
Like,
that needs to be
it's-
called out.
it's
They have
the-
conflicting data.
Yes, there we go.
Yeah, you have conflicting data. You have one point you say this, and another point they say this.
So I'm
But
in
nobody-
construction management, and I know why we put fireproofing on steel. I do it in every one of my projects, almost.
Yeah, but how do you get it off?
But what I'm saying is, we don't even need
How
to.
do
If
you
you
get,
put,
how
if
do you
you,
get the fireproofing off? Did you ever test it? Did you hit it with a bat? Did you try to tear it down?
I'm almost
It takes
indignant
energy. It
on
takes
trying to
energy. It
explain.
takes energy to get it off, Gene. And
Yeah.
and that's what Ken Ryan said. The energy is not there to take it all off.
The point, yeah, the
And-
point I
and-
think,
and I think that if NIST says that this logic of fireproofing was the
I-
cause for the buildings to collapse, then
if I may, I think what's raised, and please forgive me if I'm wrong, Ray, is that you have to address, because this is making both points, you have to address both points in
yeah,
order to make your argument as strong as possible.
yeah.
So no matter what direction they go, they're caught in a Hobson's choice, and they fail in their argument. So both arguments have to be addressed.
I just want to say, go and read the because I found it very interesting, the interview with Kevin Ryan. I posted the link in the chat, and I'll leave it there for people to consider, to read, and take into account the quote from Simon Sunder in 2005, wherein he says that the fireproofing dislodging was the cause of the collapse. That is major.
That's major. You're agreed.
It's
Yes.
really major. It's not like you cannot.
Correct.
say
Because we
it's not-
just showed that if you took 1,000 shotguns and shot every single bit of the
Yeah.
fireproofing off the metal, it still wouldn't collapse in that video.
Yeah, but that's your interpretation, and
That's not my interpretation. That's what the
it's your
video just
interpretation.
showed.
No.
Ray,
it's-
Come on, that's not an interpretation. They just
It's an
showed bare metal in an
interpretation of-
oven for 2 hours. It didn't sag.
It is what becomes before that. If the listen to what Simon Suner says, prove him wrong. That's all I can say.
Dear
Prove
God.
him wrong.
Help me. I am. That's
Oh,
what.
I have it in a screenshot in the first post I
go?
made. That there's a quote from Simon Sunder, and prove him wrong.
I'm gonna prove him wrong, right?
Yeah,
Here. Here,
it's Kevin Ryan.
Read this. NIST contracted the Underwriters Laboratories to conduct tests to obtain information of the fire endurance of the trusses like those in the World Trade Center towers. NIST, page 142. So these are the actual fires from that test. This is the actual oven with real joists sitting in oven for 2 hours. And
It
wait,
is.
I'm not done. And also what they did here is they didn't even apply the fireproofing. They just left the bare trusses and they still didn't collapse. So right there, I'm saying, you're right. That is a major lie by Shyam Sunder. Right here from this test is no longer an issue. Like they're wrong. They proved themselves wrong right here.
That's step two. What they in what you are saying is that there's no fireproofing on the tests, and if that was the case, they assumed that there was no fireproofing left in the building, but there was fireproofing on every column in that building.
Well, let's
But
not,
they do it. They do a test. They do it without fireproofing because they think that there's no fireproofing on the steel. And what caused it? What caused? And that's the question. What caused it to not be on the steel? The fireproofing. It takes a lot of energy. And Kevin Ryan says that energy is not there in their report. The calculations he read and the study he did, he said there's a lack of energy there in their report to dislodge the fireproofing. And I think that's what really is the Achilles heel from the NIST report, is that they did not prove why and how it was dislodged in such an amount. That's what all I can say. It's
does nobody understand what I'm saying here?
No, we get
you,
you.
Gene. I'm
We
really
totally
understanding
understand.
you.
Does one
But-
person not understand that fireproofing plays no part in it now?
No,
Because
but
we've just proved that bare metal won't do it.
but NIST is making the claim it does, so you have to address it. That's the point.
So right here, this.
I
screen
know,
capture-
but not for purposes of us. We understand that, but that still has to be addressed to NIST.
Okay.
That's what we're trying to.
You
bring
have
up.
to meet them on their own turf, basically, on their own claim.
Yes.
Okay, I'm gonna send James Olfoff. I've emailed him many times. Catherine Fletcher, I emailed her. John Gross, I think he retired. I'm gonna get them all. I'm gonna email them what Ray just said, and I'm gonna email them this video that's by them. Well, not this one. This one, Kevin Ryan edited it because Kevin Ryan's in it. I'll go back to their original files on FEMA's site and point to this and say, please tell me how Shyam Sundar can say the lack of fireproofing brought the towers down when in your own test Underwriters Laboratory, you sat there with bare metal and in 2 hours, they did not collapse. They didn't even bend the 42 inches that you claimed. So there, thank you. Anybody
Exactly.
else? Kale and then Ed. I'm gonna write that as action item. That's on me.
Let me just add to that. I think Ray is trying to just to say, how did it get dislodged? What kind of power dislodged the fireproofing? But anyway, that's not my question
Fair enough.
or my
Fair enough.
thing.
Yeah.
This is going back to something Ed mentioned, and that's with Israel. Question on that: with Israel illegally occupying Palestine, aren't they terrorists themselves?
There's definitely an argument made about that. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay.
Fair enough. And us in the United States on Indian land.
Oh yeah,
Mhm.
of course. And don't forget the central bankers, you guys. Follow the money, right?
Ed, you're up.
Yeah, it's funny talking about dislodging and fireproofing. There was somebody, I did some calculations today actually, and because I got sick and tired of people saying a plane couldn't have flown into the World Trade Center, would have hit it and bounced off or something. I don't know, but so I did the calculations, and just so in case everybody's curious, the amount of force that was exerted on the impact point of the World Trade Center. I did calculations for flight 11 was if you can imagine where the impact point was on the World Trade Center for flight 11, it produced about 77.5 million pounds of force on a surface area about 20 feet. The amount of steel in the World Trade Center was 400 million pounds of steel. I'm sorry, 400 million pounds of steel. I think 400, 200, that's one of those two. Anyway, it came out to about 20% of the 20% of the amount of steel in the World Trade Center. If you take 20% of it, that was the amount of force exerted on 20 feet of the building. So that kinetic energy being transferred to impact energy was 77.5 million pounds of force. There's no way that building was going to, those steel beams were going to withstand that kind of that amount of pressure. So that's the impact energy once the plane enters the building that's being exerted inside that structure. So just take that what you will. That was the calculation that I came up with this morning. It's a lot of
Everybody,
force.
thank you for that, Ed. Does anybody see
That's
on
a
my
lot of
screen
force. Yeah,
the video showing?
77.5 million pounds. That's like Jesus.
And that,
Yeah.
wait, can I ask, that's the jet fuel causing that type of force?
No, that's just the kinetic energy of the plane.
The impact of the plane breaking up inside of the.
The kinetic energy on impact, it's called a collision force, I think they refer to as, and there's that kinetic energy traveling at that speed with that mass and that volume. I had to figure out the density of the aircraft. And then once you can do all the conversions, then on that point of impact it's exerting, that kinetic energy is converted to 77.5 million pounds.
What about aluminum versus
From
steel?
center to the.
It doesn't,
outer-
the materials are irrelevant. It's about the mass and velocity. The materials, it doesn't matter. Like I said, ping
So
pong
the
ball
rest-
goes through a ping pong ball if you hit it hard enough.
Rest of the steel structure, I don't even know, or the explosion down below.
Yep.
So this is
I'm
how
just
they
saying that's, yeah.
this is how they put it on the job sites I'm on. Just spray cementitious material mixed with some other stuff, and they just spray it on. Slipperier than hell, I'll tell you that. Like goose shit.
Is that asbestos?
No, it's cementitious material, not asbestos. And it
Used to be kind of asbestos, but
It used to be, yes, right.
Yeah, it's not allowed anymore.
correct.
But in World Trade Center, they had asbestos, I thought.
It was
So
thicker.
Gene-
It was really thicker than what you see here. If you
50% of the towers were done with asbestos as they were building them, and about halfway up, they finally outlawed it. And
Yeah.
then the rest of the towers on the halfway up to the top were done with this proper cementitious material.
97.
Gene, since you're an expert on this, what is your opinion with respect to nanothermite being sprayed on the beams under the guise of fireproofing?
I've heard that.
That's what I was thinking that too. What if something was in that mixture?
So they did do renovate. This is crazy. I talked to my architect buddy. I said, yeah, they did fireproofing renovations. And he goes, Gene, and he turned to me, what have we ever done with fireproofing renovations? And he was right. We don't do fireproofing renovations. Let me show you this. Be on 9/11 Blogger. I hope this comes up. That'd be great. Yeah, this works. Fireproofing upgrades were completed on the floors that got struck, for the most part. 92 to 100 in World Trade Center 1, and the bottommost floor that collapsed in World Trade Center 2.
So fireproofing upgrade means what exactly?
So William Rodriguez had talked about how he heard the certain floors were locked off, and he heard what sounded like garbage dumpsters being drug across the floor. To take that fireproofing off, it isn't just wiped off. It's on there. You have to scrape it off by mechanical means, and it doesn't come off easy. So they would have had to have had heavy equipment up there. It would have had to been cleaned up. So there's a plausible ability of them doing it with what William Rodriguez said he heard with the equipment going on those floors. And it corroborates for me why people jumped from the towers. It's like, I don't know if you guys ever heard of the brazen bull. It was a torture device back then, a long time. Basically a big bronze life-size bull that they would put a fire underneath and basically bake somebody inside this bronze bull, and they put a horn in the mouth. So when the person was screaming, you just heard this horn sound. Horrible way to die. And I guess the guy that invented it pissed off the king, and he threw him in the thing, and he did it to the guy that made the thing. But me saying that, if those were painted, those the decking, it would have turned all of that concrete in those floors. It would have disassociated, because we heard that nanothermite gets to 4,500 degrees, and concrete made up of aggregate, cement, and sand or whatever materials would have broken down into their constituent parts. They would have fallen apart. It would have turned back into cement and stone, and these people would have baked to death. Like, it would have been literally jump to your death or bake to death. And
But would you need access to the actual floors, like Marshall McClellan, all these companies that were there in these floors? But at what point were they actually, because they'd have to be shut down in order for that renovation to have happened. And
from what I understand, it there were a bunch of floors that were vacant. Obviously not the Marsh McLennan floor, you're right. Those are good questions.
I'd be really curious.
I need to find out from William Rodriguez. I'm going to ask William Rodriguez directly, what floors were those floors that you heard the work going on in?
Well, maybe they didn't have to do it on every single floor.
Floors.
Right, but the claim is that the purple is what's upgraded. Those are, and I guess that's where it was upgraded, right?
Yeah, it's just, look at that for World Trade Center 1, the floors that were upgraded and the floors that got hit, like floors upgraded purple, floors got hit orange. That's something else.
Yeah, but it's very spotty on this other on the other tower.
On the other one, yeah, that one's kind of odd, but it is nowhere else in the building. None of the lower floors, just the floors where the plane, the lowest part of the plane. I know it's speculation, but man, that's really.
And the thing is, you still had to rig the rest of the building. I mean, the whole
What
building.
explains that? Are we going back to nanothermite didn't blow the buildings up?
Not blow it up. Nanothermite was used to weaken the steel, I think. I think RDX and whatever, HDX were used as well. You just don't get the percussion of the debris blowing out. I don't know if you've seen that one video I made a million times where at the southwest corner of 7 is just ripping down the building before the debris is covering over top of it. Let me see if I could find that real quick.
And the elevator shafts were renovated.
Yes.
Maintained, whatever, upgraded.
Here's the original video.
No. Stop playing. I'll go back.
Oh, man, it looks like it's good. All right, what happens? What happens?
His friend, it wasn't a cop, it was his buddies playing a prank on him. Where's the rip? Where is it? Oh, come on. It's on here. Forgive me. My cat just fell out of the window. Dang it.
Dave Chappelle.
Yeah, that was good. There's a reason.
I saw it yesterday, actually.
I can't. I'm getting sidetracked real quick. This is funny.
First Amendment is first for a reason.
Can you hear it?
Second Amendment.
Whoop. Dang it.
It's just in case the first one doesn't work out.
Anyway, sidetracked, sorry. Where is my rip? I guess I didn't upload it to, dang it.
Your cat just fell out of the window?
Yeah, he's okay. There's a whole bunch of stuff going on there. No.
Your building ain't on fire, is it? Your cat's jumping out windows and shit. What the hell?
Oh well, I give up. It's a great video that shows the explosions ripping down the side of the building ahead of the debris falling.
We've probably all seen it.
Yeah. And I don't know where we were going with all that. Who's next? Kale? Ed, are you good?
I'm good.
Sorry.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Or
I don't have anything.
Susan, you're muted.
Okay.
Here comes Lorenzo.
Lawrence, what's up, brother?
Well, you were talking about the impact or the interaction of the airframe and everything that is a component on an aircraft and a building, which also is built up of many components and the way that they interact. And speaking of mass, as if it were solid blocks of titanium or tungsten carbide that would, smash together and essentially, well, there'd be some kind of a reaction. We're talking about columns, we're talking about glass, we're talking about floor pans, we're talking about concrete. We're talking about aircraft that have a leading edge with a wing framing inside of it and tanks of fuel inside the wings. It's not like a solid block of mass striking
Right.
another solid block of something. It's something that will interact
Correct.
in nanoseconds as each part of this aircraft, the leading edge of the wing starts to push against the steel, and what happens to both the steel and the leading edge, and then subsequently to the rest of the structure of both the aircraft and the building. So it's not like this kinetic energy is all of a sudden meeting another, this mass is suddenly meeting another
Right.
mass.
Right.
You have to calculate the distance of the stopping distance.
Or the breaking and the dismemberment distance. The
Right,
fact
but
that
it's all, that was part of the calculation.
both of
like
these
far as-
objects are going to their materials in them is going to disassociate simultaneously in different ways. So, the whole thing about saying that this mass struck this and this is what happened is, it's misleading. It's
Right,
very
I took,
complicated.
when I did my calculation, I took all that into consideration. I actually had to look up what the actual density of it, 767 was. I actually had to calculate the density of the fuel. You had to calculate, there's all that stuff was taken into consideration.
fuel is also liquid.
Mhm.
But it still has density.
Stuff does not.
It contributes to mass.
As a solid mass as it starts to break up. It's not like, yeah.
Right, we get that, but that's all part of the
argument.
formula. Right, I get that, but the formula that was used deals with that. Like they talk like a car crash. You got the car crash that you use same formula when you're doing that. It's like that's why that's why you have to you can do the same calculation.
One thing we
Car
can,
breaks up too, so it's releasing that kinetic energy due to the destruction of the aircraft, destruction of the building. That energy being transferred.
Ed, can I ask you something about calculations? Are you good with that?
What? What's that?
You seem to be interested in calculations. Is that true?
Well, not really. I was just trying to make a point. I had
Okay.
math, but
Okay,
it took me a
but-
long
but-
time to figure it out this morning. I had to do a whole bunch of, I had to look a bunch of shit up, and I'm not good at it.
Yeah.
So I had to.
But did you ever look at the NIST report, their calculation?
To a certain degree, but it was mostly a bunch of gobbledygook to me.
Okay, but you can explain.
And it was years ago. I couldn't remember a darn thing. out of it.
But it's really the focus of disproving the official reports, and you're putting a lot of energy in disproving the no planers. I don't even go there anymore. I just delete or boot them, or it's not interesting for me to fight people who
yeah, these guys live for it though.
yeah, but it's disproving the NIST report is for me what keeps me going, and that's where I focus on, and I think the whole movement has to really focus on the official report and not.
Well, I focus on other stuff.
Everybody's
but
going
nobody
to
seems to
do
give a shit. So
what we've learned in the 9/11 Truth Movement is everybody's got their own ideas and their own ways of doing things. So
Of course, Gene. I know.
that's what they like doing. They go ahead and do it. You want to focus
Yeah.
on this?
Yeah.
I definitely support that too.
And I did it because I kept coming across this for years, and I just finally wanted to get that number nailed down, at least approximation. I'm
Yeah.
not saying that's like exactly what it is, but I'm getting at least approximation.
Kale
So
sent me
that's,
this
you know.
video I want to share with you guys real quick on the kinetic energy between the aircraft striking the South Tower. You're looking at the east side of World Trade Center 2, hidden behind this building, and you can see the windows as they line up against this. And when the aircraft hits it, it not only sways,
Right.
you can see it moving there. It's definitely swaying on impact, but also it twists. So we look at the other building, other part of the building. You can see this edge actually moves faster than the far edge.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And let me do it. Let me get it where you do it fast here. You can see that shimmy. The whole thing twists.
Check this out too. If you look at the blast, it's behind the movement going forward, if you know what I'm saying. So even the movement of the building is going with where an aircraft would hit, and the blast is going in the opposite direction. So you can't really say that the blast is blowing it, moving it the other way. You know what I mean?
Talking about the blast like it's an explosion. It's not. It's a conflagration.
That's an explosion, right? But I'm just saying that wouldn't move the building the opposite way from that blast or explosion. You know what I mean? So the impact is pushing the building where it should be.
Yeah. The plane is coming in this way, the building moves this way. Yes.
Right, right. And not,
Yeah, but
right.
what is taking place here in front of our eyes? What is this explosion? What is it? Really, what is it? What are we looking at? This is major, huh? I don't think. Look at in the left corner down, all that dust coming out of that building.
Yeah.
Where is it coming from? What is it? What is this dust?
Coming from the
Why
building.
is it ejected out of the entry point where the plane came in such an amount with such energy and speed in the opposite direction the plane is traveling?
Yeah,
what is causing that? What is causing this blast pressure? If Gene says RDX is needed to create blast, I agree. You need blast pressure in an explosion. And if this is creating blast pressure, were explosives.
But it's not the same magnitude as the other direction, though.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter.
It's
Were
more minimal.
explosives used, Ed? Were
Well,
explosives
look, but here's the thing.
The point is the building.
I am not at all interested in watching a firecracker explode and have to explain why that piece of paper is laying over there. That's what you're dealing with here.
You don't have
It's
to.
ridiculous.
But did NIST?
I mean, when planes crash, they explode. Watch this.
Fireballs. Yeah,
Fireball.
of course.
Yeah.
Fireballs.
Right. Here's another one.
Okay. Let's dig into it. This is a deflagration. A deflagration is a kind of an explosion, but it does not create a lot of blast pressure. Detonations.
Even Hollywood does it too. In the movies, they make a beautiful explosion, but it's not no blast wave. But the whole point to this video is something is hitting that building, and that building is reacting to it. And
that's all Kale's point. Kale, your point was made.
Absolutely true.
I dig it. We got two different points being made here. Kale's just making the point that the building's moving to the north in the direction of the plane. Yes, that point's been made. We're cool. Ray wants everyone to consider the fact that this wasn't just the plane catching on fire, but also explosives on the floor happening at the same time.
Whatever, there was something, a mighty explosive happening here that ejected
all of that
debris in the opposite direction the plane was traveling, and even out of the sides. If you only have a projectile hitting a building, it can go through the building, it can get stuck halfway, but the inertia is always in the direction of travel, and here there's inertia traveling the other way, by a huge blast, blasting out of the south and the east of and even with the North Tower,
Right.
it was all sides. There was a blast out of the tower, and if you do not explain the blast, what are you just saying? It was only a plane.
You
And
might
I
be
think-
right, Ray. You might be right. There might be explosives on this floor. I don't know.
Yeah,
Lorenzo,
that's a possibility. That is a big
Lorenzo,
possibility.
who has left the call, explains that a plane crash is not an explosion. The fireball looks like an explosion, but it's a conflagration.
Yeah, that's what everybody's saying. I don't know. Fancy
Yeah.
word for explosion.
I agree with
Sorry.
that.
But it's not an explosion. It doesn't, it's different. It's
Yeah.
different than
It's
a
like saying
bomb.
incendiary, propellant, and explosive for nanothermite. Yeah, there's
Gene.
different terms.
There were
Another
still
question on
hijackers.
that.
There were still hijackers on board.
I don't remember when I put that together. I don't remember. Does the building sway before any kind of fireball?
No. Wait.
Sways after. You know what I'm saying?
It'll,
Because it takes
no, it'll sway before.
however many seconds for the fireball to appear, but does the building react to the impact alone first?
Let's take a look. Let me get ahead.
I know I zoomed in.
All right. Oh, wait. I guess it's too hard to tell from that one. Let me go to the beginning.
Yeah.
It's hard to say.
Yeah.
It's the same time. It's too close to tell.
Yeah, right.
Right? It hit and it
building that
swayed.
is-
I don't know, the amount of inertia it would have taken to get the tower to actually move would have taken
Right.
a little time.
Right.
Yeah.
Have any of the
77.5 million pounds.
engineers, have any of the engineers and architects and engineers looked at this and tried to explain it?
Yeah, that's
No, I make a point when I'm arguing with people. I said the building twisted and swayed. Something hit the towers. That somebody came back to me and said, if there were explosives in the building, it still would have twisted and swayed. Which I was like, no. But inside, I'm like, maybe. You're muted, Gail.
that's why I'm pointing out that explosion or fireball. I'm not saying whatever. The inertia of the building isn't going. It would go away from it. You know what I mean? But actually, the building is swaying towards that. You know what I mean, right?
Yeah,
like
yeah.
a gun, like a recoil, right?
Yeah.
It's opposite. So you can't really say that building reacted to that explosion or fireball. You know what I mean?
I think it's too close to, yeah. Something, it
It's
definitely moved from something.
against- It's
It
going
definitely
against.
moved. We can all agree it moved.
Right.
Susan, you still got your hand up? No, you're muted, but gotcha. Did you raise it back up? I think I just lowered it. What the heck? It keeps going back up. All right, there we go. Let's see. What else? Anybody have anything else they'd like to? We were talking about something else and then
So
explosions
what
came
are
up.
our action items? Sandra brought up for this month. Let's get that straight first.
Firefighters.
I think
Firefighter.
mailing that letter would be our action item. Yeah, for
All
sure.
right, everybody's gonna do it, right?
All 7 of us were here the whole time. Well, I don't know how many firehouses you have around you in Switzerland or wherever you're at, Ray.
I can't, just FYI.
What do you mean? You're in LA, Ed.
Yeah, I'm in LA. Problem is though, I have a working relationship with the company I work for has a working relationship with the LA fire departments, and it's politically not possible.
Then send it anonymously.
I have to read it. I'll read it first. before I send
All
it,
right,
yeah.
thank you.
Also, if we're going to have a presence there, please share our donation link
Yes. Mail item, Firehouse, Boston. I thought I wrote that. Yeah, Boston. I didn't write what for Boston. Boston donations.
Susan, and if we do this Yissi, what, that Sandra,
Classy,
what's it, Yassi?
classy.
Classy, all right, never. So donations will have to go to that. I haven't set it up, or I was trying to get somebody to help me with it, but I don't know, our donation button, we have to get the word out to as many people as possible. So we've got to decide where we want the donations, which site to go, to donate from. Classy or
Let's take
PayPal?
this offline because that'll involve
Yeah,
our webmaster.
Okay,
And we know that that's a problem too.
right.
Yeah.
All right.
At this point, let's just do Boston 9/11 Truth because that's where we're going to throw all our funds right now anyway.
Can you ask Kevin Ryan to come to that fire gathering?
That'd be a good person.
That's a
if
good
anybody-
one, yeah.
I think, you know, if he was Underwrite's laboratory, he worked there, and I really still think that the focus on fireproofing at that conference or at that booth, whatever you do, the only one thing, and don't get into controlled demolitions, don't get into a possibility, but only ask the question: did they prove it? And it's that simple. It's that simple, but it's a clear message. If you're on a fire conference, everything's about fire and fireproofing and whatever safety. Is it safe in buildings to have fireproofing in that way? You know, it's focusing on how you reach the persons that are looking for answers. And
does anybody have Kevin Ryan's phone number?
I have his email address. I'll send it to you. To Al. What were you holding up there, Susan?
This was the New York initiative a few years back,
Yeah,
the high-rise safety.
initiative, yep.
Yep,
That's Ted Walters did that.
right. So that was a pretty telling initiative. It actually got on the ballot, didn't go any further than that.
Right.
But basically saying, holy mackerel, if skyscrapers can fall down
Right.
on 9/11, then are any of our skyscrapers safe?
Mm-hmm.
You got 10 seconds to get out of the building.
Really? So that was a truth teller in a segue.
Ed, you're up.
Something that's kind of on point while at the same time kind of being a little off topic, but at the same time relevant to the right to petition question. I had contacted my state representative's office this past week, and to deal with something personal I'm going through with the California Franchise Tax Board. They're wonderful tax collection agencies. I have some litigation happening with them. One of the things they did, they slapped me with a $500 or $5,000 frivolous submission notice when I was simply engaging in a simple protest, raising up a monetary question. The submission notice they sent me, or the submission notice I sent, is not listed on the list that the Internal Revenue Service puts out. There's 46 of them. And what I sent to them does not fit on this list. What's interesting is that because of that and what happened, I'm not able to challenge it. And as a result, but when I also sent the submission, I sent it as guess what? A petition for redress of grievance in order to exercise that First Amendment right. But they slapped me with that $5,000 for the submission notice for exercising that right. Now, one of the things that happened, and I was aware of this because I know the details of why this law was passed by Lois Lerner. She submitted it in an agriculture bill. But if you look at one of the frivolous submissions, it's number 9 that they put. It says here it's related to taxation, but that's the part that has nothing to do with what we're dealing with. But it does have to do with the First Amendment petition. And it says here that federal income taxes are unconstitutional, or taxpayer has a constitutional right not to comply with the federal tax laws for one of the following reasons. B, a taxpayer may withhold, this is what they're claiming, a taxpayer may withhold payment of taxes or the filing of a tax return in closed service or other government entity responds to a First Amendment petition for redress. Now, they placed this in a petition they placed this as a frivolous submission. But this question, what's interesting is I know the background of this question because that was part of the lawsuit I was involved in. And so what happened was when we filed the petition, the lawsuit on the right to petition question, the 3 questions we were asking was, does the citizen have the right to petition government for redress of grievance? Number 2, does the government have to answer? And number 3, do we have the right to retain our money if the government refuses to answer? That was the 3rd question. They answered the first one. They answered the second one. They did not even address the 3rd question.
Wow.
So what happens?
The answer to the second question is they don't, right? They don't have to.
That's right. That's right. So what happens is because of the 3rd question, so when I submitted that protest, they looked at it as, oh, Ed's submitting a petition for redress of grievance. That is, he's trying to withhold his money until the government answers. But we're going to put that as a frivolous submission. But that's disingenuous because the court never addressed that question.
That's awesome.
So they're going to look at the case law at that, look at the case I was involved in, and go, see, this petition for redress of grievance has already been addressed, but they're not going to say whether that 3rd question was ever answered. So this is a tricky little shit they pull.
Yeah.
So I am doing a legislative proposal for them that the state rep sent me, and I am trying to get the law changed to make challenging these frivolous designations a lot easier for the average citizen.
Nice.
Because they're doing this shit all the time. But this is an example of how this right to petition for redress is being abused by government agencies and how they're using it to stop dissent. And I just wanted to bring this up and point this out to you guys so you guys understand kind of what's happening there.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Are you a lawyer?
No.
No. Okay.
Mick has been on a phone call with Ed and said he's definitely got some skills there. That's for sure. Yeah, I would love to see you guys.
I've done my battle in courts many times and learned my way how to navigate. So
I would really love to see you, Nelson, Adam, that you group of guys get some funds together and have some litigation move forward with Mick where you think it should be, because you guys are powerful in your own right.
Here, I'll tell you straight up what I think, if I may.
Yeah.
I don't think our answer is going to be found in the courts per se.
But that's the only
answer. Because the answer is actually going to be with the people themselves, and because it goes in, it's deep because I'm just going to say it straight up. Back in 1903, there was a constitutional provision that was stripped away from the people. And so the people are supposed to have this constitutional mechanism by which they're supposed to basically step into, which is a state institution, and that is your militia provisions. There's Article 1, Section 8, Clause 16. And that's the only institution authorized under our Constitution to execute the laws of the Union. It says it right there. Congress shall call forth the militia to execute the laws of the Union, suppress insurrection, repel invasions. The first two are police actions. The second one is a military action.
Forgive my
So-
interruption, one, but isn't there
Sure.
something? Didn't Anton Scalia say something about the grand jury being the fourth branch of the government?
I don't know if he said that or not. But what?
Okay.
Yeah,
Go
but
ahead.
what's happened is the militia structures in the states were completely disbanded, even though the Second Amendment says a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state. When 9/11 happened, the free state was obviously not secure because we were attacked, and we didn't have the mechanism in place to prevent such a thing. In 1903, they passed this thing called the Dick Law, the Dick Act, and that was the law that actually created the National Guard. And in the first sentence of the act, it says that the militia of the United States shall consist of, and it tells you what the composition of the United States militia is. However, the Congress has no power to create its own militia. It only has the power to create an army and navy. And the army and navy are separate and distinct from the militia itself. So the states got confused, and they basically started adopting these National Guards and calling them their state militias. And then thereby eradicating all the power that people have to be able to execute political will. So it's through the militia structures that we, the people, are supposed to exercise political will, including getting a new investigation for 9/11, including getting justice for the victims of 9/11, including getting the grand jury to hear our petitions, include all these things. And also to get accountability for when they don't do these things. Because we're a government institution that has the rights, powers, privileges, and immunities to effectuate the political will. It is basically supposed to be the largest, what do you call it, special interest group in the country, because it's made up of the entire body of the people, essentially. So every single citizen in each state is supposed to be part of this structure. And it's broken down into committees, and then you got all that stuff to deal with. But that's how it's supposed to work. The people are supposed to have their voice heard through this structure. And the government is required to listen. But it's a lot more to it than that. I can actually do a whole thing about it, but it's very complicated. But that's where our power lies. And we were denied it in 1903. Starting on March 2nd, 1867, that's when the coup occurred, and they eliminated the southern states militias on that day.
So
state institutions, by the way, state institutions, and Congress and removed them. Figure that one out. That's like Congress coming in going, oh, you can't have any state legislators. Like, what the fuck are you? It's like,
right.
It's crazy, absolutely insane.
I really think a lot of the things happening today are demonizing words are being hijacked too. I'm just going to use the words as I intended them. The patriots, militias, the 3%ers, they're really demonizing that. I don't want to say necessarily conservative base, but I guess that is it, because conservatives defending the Constitution. Yeah, they're really trying to demonize those people, and we don't have a constitution, and we don't defend our constitution. We don't have a country.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Is complicit.
What's that?
Progressives are just as complicit as conservatives.
Thank you, Ed. Ray, you
That's something else. That's something else I'm working on, by the way. I'm actually trying to get the states to let me give you some good news on that. That way we can walk away with some good news.
All right.
The Senate in 1982 came out with a report on this very issue, on the militia structures, and they actually admitted that the National Guard is not the militia recognized by the Constitution, but derives its authority under Article 1, Section 10, Clause 3, which is the state's ability to maintain troops and ships of war in times of peace with the consent of Congress. So that's totally separate from the, so they acknowledge that, hey, this militia thing, this National Guard thing is not your state militia. However, the states have failed to acknowledge that report. So what I'm doing now is I'm trying to get whatever state will listen to acknowledge that report. And that way it creates a void that they now have to fill to reestablish their state militias.
Man, that's impressive. You're like on the same level as Adam on the Constitution there, except
Well, it's the power of the sword. It's the power of the sword. You got the power of the purse and monetary issues, power of the sword, these is military and national defense issues. They're the two great pillars of political philosophy that hold up any legitimate government. So when we lost the power of the purse and we also lost the power of the sword, and I'm working on getting them both back.
right on. Man, modern day one of those guys. Matthew Henry. Thank you. Ray, what do you have?
I was just looking at the Kevin Ryan interview, and there's a link, and I posted the link, and then you can listen to the podcast. It's on that link, and listen for yourself. Take a coffee, run around the house, and listen to Kevin Ryan talking about the NIST report. And I think that we have to gather a lot of knowledge from what he's saying there. And if you want to listen to it, that's why I posted it in the comments, and it's all there for people to look at the transcript or just listen to the podcast. It was a 2014 interview, and it was done by. Yeah, it was a strange site. TheMindRenewed.com. I never heard of it. It just I was looking for fireproofing, and I stumbled upon this interview with Kevin Ryan, and I thought it was really compelling what I read there, and what his points he's making there. So that's all for the group. Just study some more. There's a lot we do not know. We think we know a lot, but there's a lot we do not know, and we have to really start digging ourselves, because I think waiting on an investigation from whoever a government agency of so that's not going to happen. We have to really start looking at it ourselves. And I think Kevin Ryan did a pretty good job at disseminating the NIST report. So I'll leave it at that.
Thank you. Anyone else?
If anybody ever wants to get a good grasp of what's going on with the monetary system, I highly recommend this book right here.
Jeez.
It's Pieces of 8.
Okay. That looked pretty thick.
It's 2 volumes. It's one of the baddest pieces of work on the planet with respect to monetary law. It's there's to get a Cliff Notes version of that, there's a 300-page report that was put out by the author for the Gold Commission in Congress in 1982 or 84, and it's available online. It's sitting in the bowels of the National Archives somewhere, but that's a Cliff Notes version of the book. So he actually wrote that report first, and then he was encouraged by Ron Paul actually to keep writing because it was such good work, and he ended up with that 1,800-page tome there with over 6,000 or several thousand footnotes in it. But it's a doozy, so I highly recommend it. If anybody, I heard somebody talk about, hey, our banking system earlier, so I thought I'd bring that up.
Thank you.
I'll put that report in the chat, actually.
I was trying to quickly find the quote by Anton Scalia. It's definitely Anton Scalia about the grand jury being essentially being the fourth branch of the government. And there was case law cited and all kinds of stuff. I'll try to find that. I made a meme and I couldn't find it right now, but yeah, that's our power too.
Well, it's interesting you bring that up because it's actually it's connected to that the militia structure as well. And there's it breaks down into various micro branches of government within that structure. So it's really interesting.
All right, Kale, you're up.
Yeah, I just want to add one of the things we should not have is any of these secret societies or orders where, you know, you have top military officials getting together with judges, getting together with top entertainment industry, the media, all these head guys coming together behind closed doors. Like, all that needs to go. Everything needs to be in the light. You know what I'm saying? Like,
there is a constitutional right to associate.
It should not be, because if we were to do that, and that's why militia is weaponized, the word, if we were to do that, conspire behind closed doors, now we're considered a cult or domestic terrorists. They're no different. This is a network worldwide that work together, a Masonic network that, or Jesuits, or however you want to label it. These guys should not be conspiring behind closed doors in our top industries and corporations and military, education, healthcare. They should not be doing that. That should not be allowed, because when we do it, we're a cult like Waco, or we end up or we're domestic terrorists. That's what they're trying to bring, pass through there. Because we all did this.
I got an interesting viewpoint on that, and I'm glad you brought that up. Here's the thing, and it's like one of those things with there is a constitutional right to associate, and we all have a right to do that. And even the Jesuits or whatever you want to call it, and the Skull and Bones and all these people, they all have a right to associate. They all have a right to actually talk about political issues and come up with plans to do things and change things. We're doing that right here. The problem, but the thing is that we have to have a. But here's my point.
Both secret.
Let me finish my point. I know they do it in secret, and that's their prerogative. But but I get that. But what I'm getting at here is that we, as a populace, have to be smart enough to understand that when they do those things in secret, they still have to do those things transparently as well in order to get it through. But we, as a population, have to be smart enough to be able to spot that, understand when those things, the cause and effect, and be able to understand that that we can't allow those things to cut. We can't allow. But they're going to meet in secret and then propose some law like the Federal Reserve Act, which happens. They met in Jekyll Island, Georgia. They met behind closed doors. They passed the Federal Reserve Act, or they proposed the Federal Reserve Act, wrote it up, and then got it passed on Christmas Eve on December 13th, 1913. No, so it got passed. So that was one of those situations. But we as a people have to be smart enough to be able to, once it passes the private secret part, it has to get public somewhere. And so we have to be smart enough to recognize that and educated enough to recognize that, to say no and put a stop to that kind of nonsense. And that's so, but they have a right to do that. It's unfortunate, but they do have a right to do that.
To an extent, I don't agree with it. I never will agree with it. I don't care if there's a law to protect it. I don't agree with it. When we do that, if we were to do this behind closed doors and keep it secret and unable to hear any transcripts or any kind of chat or anything, we would be considered a cult or a domestic terrorist group.
They did technically violate 18 U.S.C. Section 241, conspiracy against rights. They did technically do that when they did that. So there is laws to protect this. Now, where's the education that we're supposed to have? But where's the education that we're supposed to have?
Yeah.
Here's my point. Here's my point.
Well, there's a law.
Where's the education that we're supposed to have to be able to put to execute the laws of the union? Where's the mechanism?
Can we go into lodges and audit them ourselves? Can we like knock on the door and go, hey, can we record what's going on in here? Because we have a head of Disney over here. We have some colonels over here. We have, you know, a president over here, you know, coming inside. Can we join? Can we see what's going on? No. And if we do that, that's my point. They're trying to call us domestic terrorists just for even conspiring in the light.
Right.
They're trying to call us.
Right, I get that. There's laws against it. So, but we have to be able to effectuate and enforce those laws. But we don't have the mechanism anymore to do that.
That's where it comes, putting your bodies against the gears, because the whole legal system is just done. It's corrupt. It's compromised.
Then we're probably let me lay this out for you. Then that means we're at a point where our government needs to be renewed, restored, or changed altogether. We reached that point in our declaration where it says, you know, but here's the thing. In order to do that correctly, in order to exercise that right, power, privilege, and immunity, we have to be able to have the mechanism, which is the militia structure, in place to execute that. If we don't do that, then we're acting on our own volition as individuals without the protection of the state, because the militias are state institutions whereby we, the people, are supposed to execute the laws.
The government is doing the same thing to us. They're not following their own laws.
Which is why the militia has to be reestablished in order to put the mechanism back in place to execute the law, which is the Constitution itself as well. Without it,
20 years later, this is crap. It takes putting your bodies on the gears as well. I understand your legal wheel, but also there's another aspect of putting your bodies on the gears.
And you're going to get crushed by the gears. That's the thing. You don't want to get crushed by the gears.
Well, doesn't mean you don't do it.
Yeah, it does, because if you get crushed by the gears, you're not around anymore to keep fighting. But I get what you're saying. I like the spirit. I like the spirit. Don't get me wrong.
A tractor, you know, you want to stop a pipeline or whatever, because I'm First Nations Kiowa Comanche, right? It took all this legal BS and it just broke down to chaining yourself to the tractor.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
But how do you change yourself to it? But how do you chain yourself to it? But how do you chain yourself to an abstraction?
I'm just telling you, that's what it's going to come down to. Our directives by our founding fathers was to put your bodies on the gears.
Yeah.
Basically.
It's getting to that point.
Well, I'm still with Ed on the legal aspects, because.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. And I'm here supporting that. But you got to understand, we're at 20 years later, and it's for a reason. They don't even follow their own rules. And they do
rules. That's the problem.
They do stuff behind closed doors as well.
We have so many laws on the books that are unconstitutional, against our own basic foundation of law.
Right.
I mean, the Patriot Act.
It's scary what we got to do, and it scares a lot of people back to that zone.
Because we let them get away with too much for too many decades.
Right, and that's why you touch each other, hit each other, right? Because you want to talk it out, but unfortunately,
here's the beauty.
And all they understand.
Here's the beauty of this militia idea. Right, because we're talking about trying to get people to do things, right, and getting volunteers and all that stuff, and getting people to get active, etc. If the militia was revitalized in every single state could have its own 9/11 committee that's enacted by state, but that's backed up by the state. In other words, so the state, because the militia structure are state institutions, they have that cloak of protection. So the militia structure can actually establish 9/11 committees or investigatory committees, and then guess who has to participate in that committee? The entire body of the people, because they're all required to be members of this institution. So now you don't have a problem with volunteers anymore. You just solved your problem. That was one of the biggest things that excited me about this idea, because I got so frustrated when you ask for volunteers or just people put her out. But if you have a actual constitutional mandate to engage in a civic duty to protect your country from these further further usurpations and further attacks, whether it be legitimate terrorism or inside jobs, etc. Now you have this wonderful institution that the people are required to take part in to be able to put a stop to it. And now imagine with modern technology, imagine this, right? If let's say you have this committee and they have a finding like Richard Gage, like the A&E for 9/11 Truth, and they have their findings and they make a determination, right? They can take that to the grand jury. They can take that right to the grand jury. If the prosecutor refuses to give it to the grand jury, guess what? Now you have this entire body of the population using modern technology to initiate a recall proceeding immediately using an app on a cell phone, right? So now this guy goes, okay, he's not sending this information over to the grand jury, so let's recall him. So you simply initiate the recall proceeding, and then you have the vote on an app on your cell phone, and you make it happen instantaneously because everybody's getting the same message at the same time. So now you got this threat of being recalled by this prosecutor, and it makes them mind his P's and Q's a lot more. So that's just one little example, right? But when you have the entire body of the people behind you through this legal mechanism that's backed up by the state, that has the power of the state behind you, that's amazing, absolutely amazing idea. And the founders put it in place. We just got screwed on March 2nd, 1867. So we've got to go back and figure out what the hell happened there and then kind of fix it. The beautiful thing is the militia structures are supposed to be perpetual institutions existing at all times because they're necessary to secure a free state. So it's a matter of, so it's kind of like a car sitting there with its engine running, but nobody's sitting in the driver's seat. So now it's just a question of getting the state to go, hey, that National Guard thing you got over there, here's this report that says it's down to militia, so you gotta revitalize it. And then once that's done, then it's just a matter of time and just organization, things like that. But yeah, I don't see it any other way. I don't see any other way to do it.
I totally agree, and I would love for it to go that route, but I'll just put a but.
I know. It's all good.
We're almost at that point.
Yeah.
Finally, like, it's not just 9/11. We have a huge false flag happening right now with more to come. You know what I mean? So
Took me to find what I wanted to find.
you know what they're trying to form on record, forming a new world order. They've gone on what record the past couple of weeks saying it. You know, that their end goal. That's their end goal.
So I found what I wanted to find. This is Anton Scalia. I'm just going to read this, summarize it. In fact, the whole theory of its function is that it belongs to the, oh, darn it. Come on. Where'd it go? Why would you do that? No. Left mouse, right mouse. No, it's the plane. That's fantastic. Try this again. The fact that the whole theory of its function, you talk about the grand jury, is that it belongs to no branch of the institutional government, serving as a kind of buffer or referee between the government and the people. Then he quotes some case law. Although the grand jury normally operates, of course, in the courthouse and under judicial auspices, its institutional relationship with the judicial branch has traditionally been, so to speak, at arm's length. Judges' direct involvement in the functioning of the grand jury has generally been confined to the constitutive one of calling the grand jurors together and administering their oaths of office. And he quotes some more. The Constitution of the United States, interpreted by the Supreme Court, gives rise to a fourth branch of government, the grand jury. So I love it. And I sent this to Mick and all them, bunch of case law. And I really think we always talk about our three branches: judicial, executive, legislative. I really think there should be something more formal about the people's grand jury as the fourth branch. Like, I don't know how that would even go about being done, but for checks and balances, it's almost like ask the audience. You guys remember Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? It was one of the options. Like, the people in the grand jury is effectively that.
You know, it's funny. Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? The host of that show was Meredith Vieira. Her brother is the one who wrote that book I showed you.
All right, small
No
world.
shit. Dr. Edwin Vieira.
And
He's,
she knows
he's-
Kevin Bacon. So
Yes, there you go.
3
Oh,
degrees of
dear.
separation joke. Anyway, all right.
Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Oh, wow. I finally found that meme that I was referring to. I put it in the chat. The 118 testimonies. It's just a snapshot that I think sums it all up very nicely.
Yep.
Snapshots don't work in the chat.
Really? Oh,
Yeah.
well, that's the one.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking you were thinking of. Yep.
Yeah. I'm gonna try to print that out and send that along with the letter.
Mm-hmm. That'd be great.
Cool. Yeah, definitely. We could use that.
Yeah. Because that letter might be a deterrent to some of the firefighters because it's really long. If they get it with something like this, that's a snapshot of what we're trying to get to, and they might be more compelled to read the longer item.
Have that in the front and the letter in the back on the other
Well, I will
side.
just put it in the same envelope and that's it.
Yeah.
All right. Ray, something? You have something?
Yeah. Yeah, I have something. Again.
Okey-doke.
Wait, explosives?
Yeah. It's just an article from Wikipedia. It's always interesting to read the Wikipedia. Not that it's always correct, but you get a kind of a gist for the things that are. But it's about explosion. I posted a screenshot and you can see the difference between a fuel combustion and an explosion. It's that's the link, but it's if you look at I made a screenshot from the two pictures of different, that's it. You see a detonation and then below it you see an explosion simulating a bomb drop at an air show, and that's just gasoline combustion. But if you look at the detonation from 16 tons of explosive, you see a lot of ejections of debris. And if you realize that the difference between those two is major in destruction, this is what they say happened in New York. This is not what they say what happened in New York. This is what happened in New York, really a detonation. And if you go to below, that's a fuel fire of gasoline combustion. And you see it just going up in a ball of flames.
Yep.
And if you get the gist of that, those two things are very, very different. That is really that you know what explosions, what you're talking about when you talk about explosions. It's getting to know what you're talking about. Just saying explosions or explosive were used on 9/11. That's one thing, but if you understand the word explosion and what it means, what it creates, and what it destroys and how it destroys things, I think that's really important for us to know. Okay.
Thank you, Ray.
The plane crash is not an explosion.
It's you can call it an explosion because it's a deflagration. It's in the article. It's the last word there below the hand, deflagration. That's a subsonic. It's not a supersonic, but it's a lower expansion of gases, You can call it an explosion. You can call it an explosion, but it's a different kind of explosion.
Bob McIlvaine, who's fighting for his son to get a justice for his son, Bobby McIlvaine, the autopsy report showed that he died from a detonation and that the burns on the body were post-mortem. So what that means is he died from the blast shock, which you can kind of see here in this explosion, this white line. There's a detonation wave coming off of it. That's what killed Bobby McIlvaine. But then there were burns that killed him post-mortem. So the flames that rolled through afterwards, he was already dead, they're saying. I don't know how you do that, but some really smart forensic pathologist knew that. So I actually, it raises another question for me, because I hear Bob McIlvaine discount the fireball theory down the shaft of one. I kind of have to agree. There's just not enough volume of kerosene jet fuel to be able to ignite on the 77th floor or the 22nd floor and then the lobby. It just, there's not enough. But my question is, what were these burns that were post-mortem then? What was the fuel? Because if it was the detonation from the explosion that happened in the sub-basements that Willie Rodriguez accounts for, what were these flames that rolled through and burnt him post-mortem? For those who don't know, his body was laying at the lobby, and his body was in the morgue before the towers came down. So he died when the plane struck.
Wow, in the lobby.
He was going to Merrill Lynch. He cuts through the World Trade Center 1 lobby, and he was coming up to the doors, and Bob seems to think that it was the detonation that killed him. There was glass blown through his chest. Half his face was blown off. One arm was blown off, blown out of his shoes. And Cyril Weck took a look at the autopsy reports and seemed to agree this was from an explosive effect. Now, yeah, there's just a ton of questions that come to mind, but
Oh yeah.
I think this is the explosion, pardon my word if I'm not being precise on my wording, this detonation, whatever it was that William Rodriguez said happened roughly 6 seconds before the plane hit. It blew the marble granite off of the walls, blew all that glass out on the bottom level. Like, this was what killed Bobby.
The blast overpressure
Yes,
talk about.
the blast overpressure.
But the blast overpressure is related to detonations, because deflagrations do not cause blast overpressure, and a significant destruction caused by blast overpressure is visible in the lobby area. Because of the broken out glass and the marble missing, and people who were really killed by the blast coming out of the shafts. But it's really understanding what explosions are, I heard also this evening that you spray on nanothermite on beams, but nanothermite in itself does not create blast overpressure.
Right.
It creates heat, but it does not create. You need a carbon based material to create a lot of gas.
Right.
And that's what
Niels Harrit would agree with you. It's not an explosive. It's more of a propellant.
He said in an interview, and I don't know where it was, but he said that he was still looking for the material that caused the blast overpressure, because he did not see it in the nanothermite. So it was a mixture of two things: a carbon-based material and nanothermite used in conjunction with each other to create the heat and the pressure. And that's the thing that you don't put it on spray it on nanothermite only as nanothermite. It's impossible. It doesn't cause blast.
You're right. I agree with you.
Basically, I mean, what it comes down to is that the towers were a ticking time bomb up until 9/11. I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's not maybe. I think there's a lot of conjecture of also pointing fingers at who done it, but not realizing exactly what was done on a day, because it's very the word they, using they as somebody else without proving it is rather useless if you do not know what exactly happened on that day.
Right.
It's really important for us to understand. Look at the face. You know, his head was blasted off. The face was the head was missing. It was just
And the
missing.
arm.
Yeah, but he was in the lobby.
Yeah.
And so there was something mighty powerful, a blast going on in the lobby to create that damage of his son. It's amazing that and he has a strong conviction because he knows he's on the right path, and that's why he can do it all these years with all the emotion he has of the loss of his son, but because he knows he's on the right path.
Yep.
I think the bombs before or after, if I was in a building, I could not even understand where sounds are coming from, but I knew that sounds of explosions were happening. I could, you know, Rodriguez said it was first there, then there, and there's a lot of emphasis on what he's saying, but what he is saying is that there was time between the two sounds he definitely heard, and he did not even hear it. He saw the destruction in the basement. He saw it. He saw the blown out elevator, lift doors, and I think that's a very strong case also for him to keep on going, because it's a part of the truth, but it's not the whole picture. You cannot say Rodriguez is the man, because he never saw the plane. He assumes what he heard was that or that, but he really heard an explosion. That's what he really, that's the major thing I take from it, that he saw these blown out elevator doors. He saw that the people with burn wounds, he saw that in front of his eyes.
Yep.
And that's why it was not taken into account in the whole commission report, because it was too factual. It was too factual. It was really it undermines the whole official story.
Thank you.
It really does.
I think we all agree with you. I want to leave some time to eat my dinner. So anybody for the good of the group?
Thank you. It was
Yeah,
really nice.
thank you, Ray.
Yeah.
Here's a great book you can pick up too. It's called The Three Rights. I'm sorry, yeah, The Three Rights. There we go. Yeah, it's great little book. A lot smaller than the other one, by the same author. He's got a little pocket one I like to carry around with me everywhere. Called Three Rights. He's got another one called The 13 Words. It's about the same size. It's red color. I also have. But that book details like how one exercises the legal authority for exercising those rights, powers, privileges, immunities, and the legal mechanism to change government when you need to. That's it provides all the legal foundation for it.
Excellent.
Which
Thank you.
very few people know. By the way, it's fascinating, really fascinating.
Thank you. Anybody else?
I think it even applies in Canada, technically. I don't know, but I think you could make an argument for it.
So action items, email the mutual aid request to local fire departments, everybody. Let's see what
Promote
else.
donations to Boston 9/11.
Boston 9/11 Truth donations for the upcoming National Fire Protection Shindig.
Al,
I'm
you're
gonna
gonna get in touch with Kevin Ryan?
say that again.
Al, get in touch with Kevin Ryan?
Yep. I sent him the email. So he's got Kevin's email. I'm gonna email NIST.
Oh, was your chat with Adam Eisenberg, is that gonna be public or recorded, or is that?
That was recorded. Thank you on that one. Sandra and I had a 3-hour conversation with Adam. It was really good. Those of you who don't know, Adam was part of the Army.
Eisenberg.
What did I say? Ellsberg?
Oh, you didn't say his name.
Oh, Adam Eisenberg.
Oh, they don't think it's Fitzgerald.
Yeah. His unit was set. Alpha Company was to go down on September 11th to the Pentagon and process parts and bodies and such. He has worked in a shipping. I'll just give you here's my little quick 1-minute summary. He worked in a shipping for Pratt & Whitney. He's very familiar with plane parts and stuff. He's adamant that he did not, that's kind of funny, pun intended, not adamant that he did not see any plane parts. And I corrected him on it, and he took that well, because he wanted to be more precise in how he's speaking. He didn't say that he didn't see plane parts. We all saw those plane parts, the strut, the alleged wheel, the engine. His problem is that none of it was cataloged and none of it is stored anywhere. So all these plane parts that we keep talking about, when it comes down to, well, can we look at any documentation of this part or actually inspect the part? No, it's not to be found anywhere. So that's interesting.
I'm going to be speaking to Adam in about an hour and a half.
Excellent.
Along with Nelson and the other Adam and Darren, and
yeah.
So we're all having another meeting on Zoom.
Yep.
In about an hour and a half with Adam Eisenberg. So
excellent.
If there's any questions that you want to raise that you maybe had time to think over, let me know and I'll be more than happy to ask those questions.
Where is that? Where is that to be watched, or?
It's not. It's just a private Zoom meeting that we're gonna have.
It's not going to be published.
I don't think so.
So
I don't
my
think so.
thought,
Are we going to become a secret group now?
No.
I sure am.
So on my part, what I'd like to say about that, because I've been thinking about this and I even said something to Sandra about it, is one of these war rooms, we segment a period of time, and I would like to invite everyone in, or maybe not even do it on a Sunday, just pick another night, and we all just come in as a round table, and I'm going to invite everybody. McKee, Chandler, Costi, Eisenberg, you guys, I mean, Adam, Ed, Nelson, and such.
Wow, talk about explosives.
Oh,
Frank.
exactly.
Jeez.
So it's going to be,
that's going to go off. There's not going to be any deflagration going off in that room.
it's going to be, I really would like to leave it just open. I want it to be like, okay, this is a war room. As long as everybody could not talk over each other, anything can go on. And no personal shots. Anybody ask anything, and I would love to see this conversation and who would show up. That'd be great.
I like that idea because you never know what's going to come out of that organically.
Right, exactly. I think there's a lot of power there. So, all right. So if you want to throw that by him too, I don't know if we mentioned that to him yesterday. I think we did.
Okay. Yeah, I'll run it by him.
I think the hardest buy-in will be from, I think even Chandler would be okay with that. Costi not so much, and McKee probably not, but you never know. So, it'd be nice for us, like Ray's saying, it would be nice for all of us just to sit back and watch you guys go.
You're always spectators, huh?
Right.
Get the popcorn.
Right.
Another controversial issue that I don't think has been addressed enough is whether or not there were hijackers.
Oh yeah, they'll definitely argue over that.
Oh yeah, we'll definitely touch on that. No problem there.
No. Well, I'll invite Barbara, and then then we'll go there.
I will say this, that from the interactions that I've had, it's always been very respectful.
Yeah, in the emails. Yep.
And I was in an email chain with Ed and a bunch of his buddies, and they could have gone at me very hard and very, very snarkily, and they did not. They were all super respectful, and I would have no worries about that conversation.
And all of them,
even if
from
it
my
got
point of view,
heated.
is they're all verbose. Everyone, even Sandra, it's like, oh my gosh, look at this other book that just came through. Like, oh my gosh.
I had to address a lot of people in mine, so that's my.
Oh,
defense.
yeah. I have to give Sandra credit for getting in there and actually putting up some points there.
I did.
That's
I did
good.
my best, but
Well, it'd be
I
nice to-
have nothing but respect for all of you guys. So, for me, that's not hard.
Yeah, thank you.
I
It's
really
really,
think-
it's really difficult too in the written word because it's so much
Yes.
easier to kind of come off snarky
Yep.
versus
Yeah.
in person. But so I always try to keep that in mind. But it's so
Yeah.
hard.
Well, the
And you're
tone
in-
is hard.
Yeah, the
but-
tone.
Yeah, but in writing, I can gather my thoughts a lot better and structure and organize what I want to
Mhm.
say, versus when you talk, you can get sidetracked, there's interruptions, right? So
Mhm.
writing is easier for me for that.
Well, let me just off the cuff tentatively. Let's try Saturday.
Oh, I have a well off the top of my head right now in this moment suggestion, and tell me what you think about this. Because again, it just came off the top of my head. What if you were to create a format whereby instead of talking about what we know, we can ask the other people questions and they have to answer them. Versus that way,
That'll be so much more threatening, though.
that's the point. But it's not to be threatening. It's to get to the truth. You know, it's like because
The
here's the thing.
Socratic method.
Yeah.
True that.
Yeah, it's
Mars Hill,
asking
yeah.
questions.
I gotcha.
And it's like but here's the thing, because in order to get to Jordan Peterson did this really well. He talks about how to debate. And he said, what you have to do is you have to elevate the other person's argument to such a high degree that they feel completely duplicated and understood. And the only way to do that is by asking questions like, so I understand you're saying blah, 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 or what do you mean by blah, blah, blah? And,
think we
and
watched
then
the
make
same
sure you
video.
flush out the point, and then you can then come in and discuss it. And that way you're not creating a straw man, reducing the argument to absolute drivel that they actually don't really mean, and then attacking that. You're actually, it keeps everybody understood.
Yeah, and I'm in favor, if at all possible, of zooming in on those items that cannot be explained any other way. To me, those are the critical ones. Those that, yeah, you may think it's this, but is it possible that it could be something else? And if it is, then I don't want to focus on that. I want to focus on those things that literally cannot be explained any other way.
Yep.
Yeah, I remember in my response to you on that, I talked about the world of possibility versus the world of probability,
Yeah.
and that's a big ocean to swim in
Well,
there.
So
it might
let's
be worth a shot.
tentatively, I'm just gonna throw this out here. Saturday at 5. Let's see if I'm gonna try to invite all those people and see if we could have a little talk.
Okay, I'll mention it too with them. When I speak
All
with
right.
them.
And something
I'm
for
gonna get
everybody to keep.
Is this group just for technical discussions or what? I'm confused.
No, so on the 30,000 foot level, to go with what Al's talking about, if we're going to be talking with people in public, I mentioned this last week, if we're going to be talking to people in the debates, or we're going to be talking to people on the street, or however we're presenting 9/11 Truth, I found this YouTube channel very helpful. I've been listening to these. It's called Charisma on Command, and they tell you, this is what, when I had Fran Shore on with Dorothy Lorig and Marty Hopper, and wanted to look for like the psychology of how we as 9/11 activists can work. This is just loaded up with them, and it pulls out famous people and what they do right in their speaking abilities. And Ed brought up one of them because they do talk about Jordan Peterson in here quite a few times. Joe Rogan and his ability to maintain a the conversation and demand respect, and it's just invaluable. I think you all just click through a couple of these and you'll find it amazing. They're actually really addictive to watch.
Hey, scroll up real quick. I saw something. Scroll up real quick. Keep going. Keep going. A little more.
I don't think I went that low.
Yeah. Oh, here it is. How to argue with someone and who won't listen. Stop. Jordan Peterson and with Ben Shapiro. The second one from the.
Oh yeah, there it is.
From the left. Yeah.
That is it, because Ben Shapiro uses a trap method, which is a viable method, but not one that you're going to influence somebody. You're going to
Right. It's a gotcha method, and it kind of irritates the other person.
Yeah, he's
so they
really
feel-
good at it.
Yeah. Yeah, he's good. When it comes to if you want to really, if your audience is anybody other than the person you're trying to convince, it's a great technique.
Yep. So I will, Charisma on Command if you get a chance to check it out. All right, so we got our action items. We did get technical. I think it was a pretty good conversation, 2.5 hours. Thank you all.
All right,
Kato, you
guys,
got
I'm gonna
something for us? Send us off.
Wait,
And Kale has hand up.
Dean,
Yep.
let me just add one voice that I miss, and we all miss, is Ken O'Keefe. He wasn't the greatest speaker, but he was one of the best speakers ever, because he kind of smacked you awake and smacked the world awake. You know what I'm saying? Instead of like a gentle tap on the shoulder, he kind of like shook you awake. You know what I mean?
I never followed Ken that much.
That's missing out of this equation as well.
Hmm.
You know, sometimes it takes that too, is just what I'm saying. Ken O'Keefe touched millions of lives as well. And that's why they targeted him so bad, because his voice was so strong.
Right.
Don't forget that.
Hey,
To be
Kale, by the
honest-
way, if you want to join us on our meeting with Adam Eisenberg, you're more than happy. You're more than welcome. I'll send you an invite.
Did you hear that, Ray?
Sure. And don't take it personal.
No, it's not to
I'm-
Kale, because he was worried about being secret, and I want to make sure I can open up the transparency to him. He can audit our meeting if you like.
Yeah. Hey, just remember, you're a domestic terrorist.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're
It's
government believes you're a domestic terrorist.
yeah.
Aren't we all?
So you guys are all privy. If you guys want to be there for if I can make it happen, Saturday at 5, it'll be a technical roundtable of all the Pentagon folks having a conversation, which will be rowdy.
5 o'clock Pacific time.
Is that better for you?
I'm sorry, Eastern time. Eastern time.
Eastern, it would be Eastern, but I'm thinking for you guys, that'd be earlier in the afternoon.
That'd be fine for me. I'll make it work.
Okay.
Is,
Everybody's invited.
are we having a meeting on Easter, or I'm trying to figure out?
Oh, Eastern Sunday.
But that is next weekend. Well, why
Yeah.
not?
Well, I won't be here, so.
Okay. But it doesn't mean we can't have it. Whoever can join can join.
Yeah, I'm thinking all the church going will be done. That'll be in the afternoon.
Family won't have me around anyway.
Oh, ouch. Yeah.
I
3
might
years
be
in a row.
I might be
Sorry.
AWOL the 2 Sundays after that. I'll have to, my sister's here. And I'm gonna have to try to work around schedules.
Okay. Well, I'll
What time, Gene?
Saturday, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's just gonna be really kind of off the cuff, very laid back. We'll see. We'll see who comes.
All right. I'm gonna get some Taco Bell, and I'll see y'all later.
Yep. Peace, everybody. Have a great week.
Have a good
you.
night, guys.
Aloha.
Aloha.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.